What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Low Kick MMA UFC 251 recap show. I'm your host, Ryan Galloway, and joining me is Low Kick MMA site manager Jordan Ellis. How's it going, Jordan?
It's going good. How are you?
Not too bad. Had a great weekend of fights, obviously. The big 251 that happened. A lot of stuff to break down today, actually. A lot of storylines exiting this event. But I think we'll jump straight into the main event here. Obviously, between Kamaru Usman and Jorge Masvidal. A fight that a lot of people wanted to see. The fight they wanted to see over the Gilbert Burns fight. And in my opinion, the less interesting matchup in terms of we knew how it was going to go down, and it happened, in my opinion, exactly how we thought it was going to go down. Usman relied on his wrestling for the most part and just put him on the cage. To Masvidal's credit, though, this is one thing about this. I thought that he was just going to be able to get thrown on the ground and held down, whereas he defended a lot of takedowns and his wrestling seemed to be decent. He seems to have really good wrestling, or at least defensive wrestling. He did get taken down a couple of times and he obviously got dominated, but impressive showing by Masvidal, in my opinion. What did you think of the fight?
Yeah, it was kind of what many people feared it would be. It was dominance on Usman's side. It was quite boring. There weren't a lot going on. I do agree that Masvidal, he put up a good showing considering he popped up on 6 days' notice, and a lot of people expected him to get dominated on the floor with wrestling, but it was just against the cage, and that was props to him because he weren't easy to take down. He was a nightmare to take down. So Usman was just making do with short shots and foot stomps, and it was just, it weren't the greatest fight, and it's kind of what a lot of people thought might happen. And if anything, it was worse because he weren't even getting takedowns. He was just holding against the cage. So it was good performance from Masvidal. I mean, from Usman, he did what he had to do and he won, and that's what you do as a champion. And Masvidal's a really dangerous guy, so you're not going to stand and bang with him, are you? So he had to do that, and it was boring for the fight fans. But on to the next one now. Props to Masvidal for stepping up. Hopefully he can get a couple of wins and come back again.
Yeah, well, one thing I do want to give Usman praise for, though, when he did strike with Masvidal, because there's a few instances in the fight where he decided to try and stand a bang with him, and he did pretty well. He landed on Masvidal more than Masvidal landed on him, I'm pretty sure, anyway. The best round Masvidal had was that opening round, and that actually gave me confidence going past that. I was like, oh, he's coming here, he's looked really good. He didn't get taken... Well, sorry, he got taken down when he had a kick caught, but that doesn't really count. And, the first round, Masvidal looked real clean, real good, in great condition. Obviously, he has been training. He can say all he wants about 6 days' notice. He's clearly been training, you could tell. So going past that, every other round was quite clearly Usman's. But another thing coming out of this that does quite annoy me a little bit, a lot of people criticize Usman for being a wrestler and saying it's boring to watch, right? Why are you watching Usman fight if you don't want to see a wrestler fight? You know what I mean? What did you expect to happen in this fight? Did you think he was going to just abandon the wrestling and go stand there and bang, So, that's my take.
It's just one of them. I think welterweight hasn't been blessed with entertaining champions, and I think we had Woodley who had his odd snooze fest, and before that GSP was so dominant that I think people are just ready for a change, and after seeing Usman's last fight against Covington, they were hoping we might get more of the same, but he's not going to do that with Masvidal. And although he was able to land on Masvidal, I feel like Masvidal was happy that he's landing because that's going to give Usman confidence to carry on throwing the strikes, and then he's going to get caught with something big. But he didn't fall into that trap. He stuck to his game and he won it. That's what everyone wants to be. So he's not in it for the fans, and he's not in it to put on crazy fights. He got in there, he took next to no damage, and he's free to go on and keep making money defending the belt, because while he's got that belt, he's worth something. If he doesn't have that belt, he's not worth a lot, because he's not, obviously his style isn't too marketable and things like that. So he needs to keep hold of that belt, and I think he gets that.
Yeah, so the next thing logically for Usman would be the Gilbert Burns fight, to remake that one, unless they go the direction of Edwards, but I just really can't see that happening. And to be honest, even if Edwards was to fight Usman right now, I think it would be more of the same what happened with Masvidal. He'd be able to stuff a few takedowns, but for the most part, he'd just be dominated and lose that way. Whereas the Burns fight's very interesting, because Does he want to take Burns down? Is always that threat of jiu-jitsu, like the threat of the submission when he's taking Burns down? And how have they gone in training? Has he submitted him in training a bunch of times? Has Usman dominated in training? You know, like we just don't know these things. So that's clearly the next fight in my mind for Usman and the biggest threat he has in that division at the moment. Because aside from Edwards and Burns, there's no one I can see getting a title shot anytime soon, like that even poses a threat. You know what I mean? Top 5, there's no one else there that I can see posing a threat to him unless they do the Covington rematch. But even then, you don't know.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be Burns. I think obviously Edwards has been on a tear, and he does deserve a shot sooner rather than later. But unfortunately, you know, COVID come along and it took his win over Woodley away, because he probably would have beat Woodley, you know, based off what we've seen against Burns. But Burns stepped in and he got that chance, and he's got the big win on his record now, and he probably does deserve the next shot. And it is really interesting because obviously they've trained together, but then you've got that threat of jiu-jitsu where would Usman want to take him to the floor? How would he control him? And how would Burns be happy for it to go to the floor? And then he's also got this, you know, this striking game coming on where I think he's probably the better striker going into that fight as well. So he's got a couple of advantages, and then also the fact they've trained together. It's just an interesting matchup, which I hope they make next. If not Edwards, he's just as game, but I do feel like he's kind of, his momentum's gone at the minute, Edwards, and he needs a fight. So someone like Masvidal or Covington is for him, and get him back into the mix. He just needs one win, and he's the next in line.
And we did see Edwards having a back and forth with Burns on Twitter today. So if that's the next matchup for both them, that does make a lot of sense. Have the number 1 contenders face off to see who will get that title shot. I just don't think stylistically Usman's a great matchup for Edwards, and we've seen it before. Like in the first fight, Edwards did a really good job of defending the takedowns, but he still got dominated, you know. Maybe he's made big improvements. I haven't really seen that because he hasn't fought a wrestler. But I think, yeah, do Burns and Edwards, see who wins that, and they can take on Usman next. As far as Masvidal goes, I like the Colby-Masvidal matchup just for the backstory. Realistically, he's going to go to the direction of a Nate Diaz, Conor McGregor, someone like that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he come out after the fight and said he's not really interested in Covington, and Covington's come out today and actually said last time we sparred I knocked him out with a head kick. So it's obviously a great fight, you know, just for the build up. It'd be a great fight. Even if Covington wrestled him for 5 rounds, it'd be a fun build up. But I think Masvidal, he's interested in them money fights, and a Nate Diaz rematch or a Conor McGregor fight seems the most likely now. I don't know why you wouldn't make one of them fights. I'm sure UFC likes making money, so yeah, that seems obvious. But Covington, he just needs to get back in with a contender, because same again, he's only one or two wins away from another title shot, even if Usman's got the belt, because it was such a great fight. So if they match him against Edwards, give Burns the next shot, and then the winner of Edwards Covington gets the shot after that. That's what I think, and I think that's the most logical thing to do.
Yeah, I think you're probably right on that one. So we'll move on to the co-main event, which was probably the most controversial fight of the night in terms of the outcome. Alexander Volkanovski defeating Max Holloway to defend his featherweight title. Now, this fight I've rewatched 3 times. First time I watched it live, like when I watched it, I was like, oh, Max won 3 rounds. He won the first 3. Volkanovski got the last 2. I was like, that's pretty... I thought it was clear. I thought Max definitely won. Judges gave it to Volkanovski. I wasn't mad because it was close either way, but I thought, Holloway edged him out. Rewatched it. I looked at round number 3. This is the one in question, right? The weirdest thing about this fight is that the judges all 3 judges had round 1 and 2 for Max, and rounds 3 and 4 for Alex, and then the 5th round was the one that they were going either way on, which is weird to me because the 5th round's clearly a Volkanovski's round. It was that 3rd round where it was, in my opinion, a bit of a either way. But rewatching it without listening to the commentary, because the commentary really does make... Bisping was talking about Holloway. Bisping was giving Holloway so much praise, saying that he thought Holloway was 3-1, saying Holloway's looking so good. He did look good, but Bisping was selling it to me. The first time I watched it, he sold it to me. I thought Max totally won that fight. Rewatching it, I think I'd give round 3 to Volkanovski, just because he landed just as much damage in that round as Max did, and he got 2 takedowns that round. One of them was successful. The other one was like, he got him down and he got back up. So I would probably edge that scorecard to Volkanovski. What did you think of the fight when you watched it?
Yeah, I think it was probably one of the worst decisions of the year. I only watched it once, so obviously I might change my mind. But I was literally working for Low Kick, writing the report on the fight, and I had already written the title. Max Holloway regains the belt. I'd already done that. I was ready to press post, and then I was like, "Oh my god, what's going on here?" So obviously it was about 6, 7 in the morning for me, so I will rewatch it. But um, I scored the first three to Max. I did think Volkanovski did better in the third round, but I just didn't think he did enough. And then the people just seemed to be skating over the fourth round like it was a clear Volkanovski round, which I don't think it was. I think it was the only round I clearly give to Volkanovski was the fifth, because he got about 3 takedowns in that round, and they weren't, his takedowns weren't really anything, because what does it matter if you pop straight back up? It doesn't really count. But he got 3 of them in the fifth round, so I was like, that's the only round I'll definitely give to him. So I could have had a 4-1 Max, or I could have had a 3-2 Max. But I definitely had it to Max. But as I said, only the one viewing. If the commentary was biased or anything like that, maybe it was. But for me, it was just off what I seen. I think it was one of the worst decisions of the year. I would think it was worse than the Barboza fight and the Yudong fight and things like that, just off the one viewing. I think Max did really well. I think he come in, he got them 2 knockdowns. The only 2 rounds that I can mark clear are the first two,
Yeah.
because he knocked them down. It was so obvious. Whereas everything else, Volkanovski might have just nicked. Even if he nicked 3 rounds, he just about won them. So how do you count these first 2 rounds? Are they 10-8? It's just another thing about the scoring system. It was. I feel bad for both men, really, because Max has not got the title, which I think he deserves, and then Volkanovski, he still isn't able to make anyone happy, even though
Yeah.
he did well. Like he did well to adjust, and he come back into the fight. For me, he didn't do enough. I'm sure a lot of people thought he did enough, but no one's going to give him any credit, because everyone's speaking about the judges rather than the actual fight, which was a good fight.
Well, this is the thing, right? I would say Max won the fight, but Alex won the decision. Because the first 2 rounds, Max dropped him twice, like once each round. But he didn't drop him where Alex was on the ground, had to get back up. He just like wobbled him. He lost his feet for a second, and he popped straight back up. So you can't really give him a 10-8 for those two like punches he landed, right? I don't think you can give him a 10-out round because he landed something that took his legs out for a second. Still, those were the biggest strikes of the fight. They were the most significant things of the fight. And Volkanovski just edged him on the last 3 rounds, right? So because of the way the fight scored, because it's 10-9, Volkanovski, like in my opinion, clearly won because he won 3 rounds. Like he edged 3 rounds. But those first 2 rounds were clear. Like you said, they're the only 2 rounds in that fight where you can for certain say, yep, Max won that. There's no argument that Alex won those rounds. But go back and watch it. I'm telling you, go back and watch it with the volume volume off. Go volume off and just watch it and just pay attention to where the strikes are and what's going on. Because I'm not trying to criticize Bisping here, because I do like him as a commentator, but the way that he was just the whole fight from the start to finish, putting praise on Max, and Max was doing fantastic. He made big adjustments from that first fight. He's doing much better. But Bisping pretty much leads the audience to think he's won 3 rounds. That's why I thought he won the third round, because Bisping's arcing on about, yeah, he's 3 up right now. Volkanovski needs to really work if he wants to win this way. He's got to find a finish. It's like, but if you go and watch it without paying attention to the commentary, I promise you'll see it the other way. Or you'll see it more close, because you seem to think it was like a landslide.
I don't see that Volkanovski, just from what I remember. I didn't think the fourth round was clear to Volkanovski, although a lot of people giving him it. I thought it was really tight again, and I edged it to Max. So the fifth round was the only one I was clear on Volkanovski. I thought he did enough, but even that was quite close. It was just because he got that last takedown. I thought that, like, it depends. We do need to change the scoring system, because you need to score the overall fight rather than rounds in MMA, basically. Because although maybe they weren't big enough knockdowns to score a 10-8, in the whole scope of the fight, they should have been, because I think specifically in the first round, I think that was a heavier knockdown than the second round. So it is an issue, and it was a close competitive fight, but there can be a thing as close but clear. And for me, it was close but clear to Holloway. And I felt bad for him, because, as I said last time, where does he go if he loses? And Volkanovski doesn't want the rematch again. And what does Max do now? Because that does put a tint on his legacy. But it's just a tough loss. I will watch it again, because obviously, you can be swayed. But just from what I was seeing in the fight, I was seeing Volkanovski going heavy with his leg kicks again. but Max was answering the leg kicks, throwing his own back, and then also throwing strikes on top. And I just felt every time he got hit with something, he was answering back. He was doing well. He was landing the heavier punches. So yeah, it was a bad decision in my eyes. I will watch it again, and sometimes it does change on second viewing with the commentary off. So see how that goes, like, you know.
Yeah, well, one big thing in this fight that I've got to throw big praise to Max for, in the first fight, after the first fight, he said the leg kicks were nothing. He's like, if Aldo threw 4 leg kicks, I would have had to switch, like, I would have been done. But I could have sat there and eaten Lloyds all night. And in this fight, I guarantee you, because this is what it looked like to me, Max was getting smashed with leg kicks and decided, these don't hurt. I'm not going to switch stance because I don't want to influence the judges. I'm going to stay in this stance to prove a point that I'm not taking big damage here. I'm just getting kicked, you know? And like you said, he was answering back. He looked phenomenal. Like, he made big adjustments that made it a lot more competitive, obviously, than the first one. The first one was quite clearly Volkanovski's. But I don't really want to see these guys fight again just because they're so, like, almost evenly matched. Like, the fight, we know how the fight's going to go. I could watch that fight 10 times, and it's going to be the same thing, like them both standing there and throwing point for point, and it's going to be a close decision every time. I can't see either one of them finishing the other at any point in any match. But we'll move on because we could sit here and talk about the outcome of this. But we'll just move on to where do you think they go next? Because for Holloway, if he takes on like a Korean Zombie, not an Ortega who beat him, a Zabit or a Yair, gets one more win, he was back at a title. Alex probably defends against the winner of Zombie Ortega. What do you think?
I think Holloway's kind of got all the cards right now. I think he can do whatever he wants. If he wants another rematch, I think the UFC will give him it. You know, Dana White come out post-fight and said he thought the judges, you know, robbed him there. So I think he's in the driving seats. But for Max, I wouldn't mind him seeing him go to a lightweight now. He is a big guy, and obviously he come up short against Poirier. But if he goes up, you know, hits the gym a bit, puts some size on, and naturally progresses, doesn't go straight into title fights, you know, maybe fight someone like just works his way up through contention and fight some contenders and then gets there. I prefer that, but I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's going to try and get another title fight at either weight as soon as possible. So I don't really want to see the third fight because as it was a good fight, but it's not the most entertaining. And the one before weren't entertaining at all. So it is, as you said, I don't see either guy knocking the other one out. It's going to be a lot of the same. There's probably going to be a controversial decision again. It's going to piss everyone off. So I'd rather just see them go the separate ways and maybe let Korean Zombie take care of Volkanovski, and then if the title moves on to someone else, Holloway can slip in and get another shot. It's interesting. And then there's always the McGregor fight. McGregor's there, and someone's going to get that McGregor payday at some point. Holloway's got the history with him. Conor McGregor will be confident to win in that. So if Max could just go off and do something for a little bit and kind of wait for Volkanovski to lose the title, that would be ideal. If not, I think he might just go for the third fight. I honestly do, and it's not really something I want to see.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We'll jump over to the bantamweight title fight, which, just quickly, Aldo looked primed at the start there. I thought this was the old Aldo back. He threw those leg kicks. I told you those leg kicks were coming back. And he threw a couple of them, and he looked fantastic, and then slowly wilted. Actually, he didn't do too bad in the later rounds until the fifth round. The biggest thing about this fight for me was that stoppage. It should have been stopped well before it was. He took so much unnecessary damage. And the other big thing for me is I'm on the Peter Yan train now. The guy's a machine. Like, for him to come out and do that to Aldo, who's like one of the best strikers in the sport, just fantastic.
Yeah, I just don't think he had to. I don't think he really had to get out of like their gear. I think he was just fighting within himself. I think there's so much more to come from Peter Yan. The first few rounds, I was a bit like, because I'd picked Peter Yan. He was the only one I was heavily picking on this card. I was saying he's the future. Aldo's, you know, he's had his day and things like that. And at the start, it looked really competitive, and Aldo was, you know, maybe getting the better of some of it. But Yan, he just turned it on. It's like at the end of the third round, I was looking at the odds online. And I was saying to my friends on a group chat, I was just saying he's gonna stop him now. You can just tell. Aldo does tend to tire. You know, he's a 5-round fighter, but he does wilt. We've seen Max stop him late. We've seen him struggle late on against fighters. So I just seen him at the end of round 3, and I just thought he's ready to go now. And he did well to survive till round 5 at that point. The referee, you know, it was poor, but from his point of view, I did kind of see Aldo was moving. Every time he'd ask Aldo to move, he'd move, but then he'd cover up. and then at that point he should jump in, but then Aldo moved again. It was just a bit of a nightmare. But I don't know what the referee should have jumped in the corner, should have thrown the towel in. You've got all this stuff, and we go over and over again. Hopefully they can work on that and improve it. But Aldo did well considering, but I do think he's had his time at the top. But he's still a guy who can be in exciting fights, who can stop a lot of top contenders, and there's no reason for him to call it a day, because he can still beat people. He can still get back to, and he could probably still win a title again given the right fight. It's just he needs to be wiping people out. 5-round fights against people like Peter Yan are just not for him. But he could potentially get a fight with Sterling and knock Sterling out, or a rematch with Marias and win that. So he's still in the mix. Look forward to seeing him fight again. But Peter Yan's the future. He's the champ for a while now, I think.
I thought he was going to stop Aldo in that first round. He hit him with that big body shot while he was on the ground, and Aldo looked like he gave up. Like he fully covered like he did in the last round, except for he did eventually fight back, and good on him, because he come out in the second round, looked good for the next couple of rounds. So coming out of this one, I think the clear matchup for the title is Aljo versus Yan, which is a fight we probably wanted to see in place of Aldo. However, I'm glad we saw this, because it was a fun fight to watch, and it also answered a lot of questions for where both of them are at in their careers. But yeah, that Aljo fight makes a lot of sense, and I think both fighters have a way to win that. I could see two outcomes. I could see Yan picking him apart and finishing him, or I could see Aljo getting on his back and submitting him, or just taking him down and wrestling him. I can't really see Aljo outstriking him. That's just not really something I'm considering right now. But yeah, that's an interesting fight.
Yeah, it is, but I'm not 100% sure we're going to get that fight, because Dana White doesn't seem to be on the Aljo train at all. He's at the post-fest conference. At the conference, he seemed to be hinting that Mariah's getting the next shot. Yeah. So it's going to be terrible for Sterling. I don't know what he's done, to Dana White to piss him off so much, but for some reason he doesn't like Aljamain Sterling. He's not giving it. He doesn't seem to want to give him that shot. I hope he does, because he should be the champion already. It should have been Sandhagen against Aljo for that belt. I hope he gets it, and I think it's a good match, because Peter Yan, he's not a big guy, and he's quite short. Like, he almost looks like he could fight at 125. He's quite short and stacked, and Aljo's as big as it gets at 135. So very interesting fight, and you've got the grappling against the striking and how all that plays out. I hope he gets it. Mariah says he did, like, on paper he beat Aldo, and I thought it was close, but since he got dominated by Henry Cejudo, and since that loss he hasn't done enough to earn another title shot. He needs another win first. So hopefully Dana White puts his whatever hatred he's got towards Sterling aside, and we get that fight next.
Yeah, well, one thing I'll just give you a little fun fact before we move on. Did you know Peter Yan's taller than Alexander Volkanovski?
Doesn't surprise me. Did you see that picture of Volkanovski walking next to the bodyguard?
Oh yeah, he was massive, that guy.
The bodyguard's head's not even in frame. It's just
it's crazy.
Why would you pick him to walk next to him? Yeah, but and then obviously you've got Henry Cejudo. He's retired, but he's not retired, and that might be next for Volkanovski. And then imagine Cejudo takes the belt off Volkanovski, and then you get a Holloway fight. There's just so much going on. So yeah, hopefully Sterling gets a shot. He deserves a shot. He should already be champion. But Peter Yan, he's a dangerous guy, and I think you're just going to see him go through the levels now, because I don't even think that was the best Peter Yan. I thought he just did what he wanted. He was so calm. He just didn't even have to get out of third gear. It was a great performance.
Yeah, for sure. And so the fight of the night was Jessica Andrade against Rose Namajunas, and this fight, really enjoyable fight to watch, seeing Rose back in action, seeing Andrade with a lot of adjustments, actually. She looked much better than their first outing. I think overall in this fight, the person who did the more damage was Andrade, but Rose was just more technical, landed on her more, just was crisper. So yeah, probably a good decision. I had Rose winning it. But Andrade really did hurt her. She put a big gash under her eye and whatnot. And she looked way better. She didn't get... In the first fight, Rose almost dropped her. Rose just pieced her up from the outside. Whereas this one was competitive, So great fight overall.
Yeah, I thought it was clear. It was 2-1. I don't think Andrade did enough damage in that last round to get a 10-8. She hit... The thing is with Andrade, she hits her with one punch and her eye blows up. or a no split. It's just one shot. It's not, she looks bad on paper, like just to look at, but it's not as bad as it looks. And she weren't taking a lot of damage. She was managed to get out the way of a lot of it. It was actually surprising from both people. I think Nami Yunus, she did a job, but Andrade was great with that head movement. She was staying busy and she was hitting hard, so she impressed me as well. It was just Rose Welly Zhang now is the fight. I think she earned it. She's off that level, and Andrade, maybe if it was 5 rounds, she might have got Rose in the end, but I'm sure they'll go again a third time because them fights always seem to be entertaining, whatever happens. But in the meantime, we've got a big 1-1-5 title fight coming up.
For sure, and I think the UFC were banking on Rose winning too, because there was no way they were going to do Andrade against Zhang again after what happened the first time, And that's an interesting fight. I think that's the fight everyone wanted. I don't think people wanted to see Joanna fight Zhang. I think they wanted to see Rose fight Zhang, even though she was coming off that loss. But, yeah, well, Rose is a clear contender now. What do you do with Andrade? I reckon, is Tatiana Suarez 115? I think she is. She's sitting right there. And, she might be out for being injured, but she's probably about to come back soon, surely. Give her Andrade, because she is, I'm telling you, she's the one who's going to beat the champion. She's got the most unique style in that division, because who else wrestles in that division? Who else like a really high-level wrestler? So, not the most endurable style, as we saw in the main event. Anyway, I think, so you give her Andrade. If she gets past it, she'll get the next title shot after Rose. But Rose is going to fight Zhang. That's going to be the next fight. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's also Ribas who performed. I'm sure we're going to get onto it now.
She's
But
115.
Ribas is going to go. She's 115. She just went up for that fight, so she's another one. And there's plenty there for Andrade, and she's never too far away. Once Rose gets that belt again, or if she gets that belt again, that trilogy fight, everyone's going to watch it because they've had 2 really fun fights. So why not watch it again? And it's 1-for-1, and she'll get another chance. Obviously, if Zhang keeps hold of the belt, she's going to be waiting a while. But if she's knocking off contenders like the people we're speaking about, Suarez and Ribas, she'll get there.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll jump down to that Amanda Ribas Paige Van Zandt fight, and I have a big problem with this one because my mind told me the entire time Ribas was going to win this. I knew Ribas was going to win. She's the favorite by so much for a reason. But the betting odds got the better of me, and I threw down a multi. I had Jimmie Prochazka or whatever to win by knockout, and I had Paige Van Zandt just to win. And it was paying me $700 for $25, right? So this is good odds. And then obviously Prochazka, how you say his name, he got that knockout, so half my multi's done. And I'm waiting. I'm just like, Paige, come on, just go out there and pull a miracle. I just need this. And she went out there and got stopped in 2 minutes 22. So she didn't look good at all. She didn't look very good. She just got. Maybe she didn't look bad, but Ribas looked like a machine. She went out there and got it done. No idea why she was bleeding or how she was bleeding, but yeah. Perfect performance by her. Very keen to see what she does. If she stays at 125 now, or if she goes back down to 115, who knows?
Yeah, the bookmakers were right on that one. It was a massive, and to me, Paige Van Zandt just looked like she wanted to get out the UFC. She looks like, just take my arm. I'm done fighting in the UFC. Give me this $46,000 or whatever they're paying her, and she's going to go and make a load of money in Bellator or whatever wants to sign her. And it just seemed like everyone in this situation was done with Paige Van Zandt fighting in the UFC. Dana White's not interested. Paige Van Zandt isn't interested. Ribas the only one who showed up and wanted to actually fight, and she just ripped her arm off. So it was just one of them fights. It was UFC feeding her to the lions after a big layoff, and she just got mopped. And Ribas, she's very exciting. She's a very exciting contender. I think she did say she prefers to fight at 115, so I expect her to go back down there. I expect her to be a contender now, and maybe fight someone like Suarez or Andrade, and she'll be in the mix for the title. It's very exciting down there, and then lighter weight classes, the women's divisions, very very exciting. For Paige, it's just. What does she do? She could be a great fighter, but she's more interested in money and Instagram and things like that. So she'll go wherever the money is, and I'm sure it's Bellator.
Most likely. I don't have a lot more to say on that one, so we'll just jump down the card and pick out some of the best performances and whatnot. Obviously, the one we got to speak about, performance of the night bonus for my boy who won half my multi before Paige ruined it. Jimmie Prochazka against Volkan Ozdemir. And I didn't know who this man was when you spoke about him when we were previewing this, but he went out there, and now I know who he was.
Oh, it was, but it was the performance of the night for me. It was that's Volkan Ozdemir. So I rate Volkan Ozdemir really highly. I think he beat Dominic Reyes. I think he's got a load of big wins in light heavyweight. So to go in there and do that to him on your debut is just ridiculous. And after the fight, I've seen loads of people starting to say, "Oh, let's match him with Johnny Walker," which makes absolutely no sense. Johnny Walker should be knocked out by Corey Anderson. Corey Anderson's a wrestler. Why would you feed him to that man like who's knocking out Volkan Ozdemir, who's like a bloody brick wall? Like, why would you do that? It makes no sense. So he's now, in my opinion, one fight away from the title. Who were they matching Thiago Santos with? Was it Reyes or
Globus Teixeira?
Yeah, so I'd put him in with Reyes. If Jones isn't fighting, Reyes against Jimmie now is the fight to make, in my opinion.
That's a big jump. I think Corey Anderson.
I don't think it is. I think Volkan Ozdemir is right there. He's one of the top guys, and maybe someone like Corey Anderson or obviously if they're gonna make Jan Blachowicz for the title against Dominic Reyes, he's just gonna have to mix it up. But I don't think there should be any drop down now. He's been a champion in Rise and he's beat a former title contender. People like Johnny Walker and Corey Anderson, in my opinion, are slightly below his level, and he should be aiming as high as possible. And there's no point slowing down and things like that. He's ready to be champion. He looks ready to be champion, but with that style, he's always liable to take a hit. But if he can take punches from Volkan, he can take punches from pretty much any light heavyweight in the world. So yeah, I'm fully on that hype train. I'm fully behind him now, and just ready for him to go for the title as soon as possible.
Well, why I agree that he shouldn't fight Johnny Walker. That's ridiculous. What's Johnny Walker ranked now? Is he ranked? I don't even know if he's ranked anymore. And he just beat number 7. What's he going to fight Johnny Walker for? I don't know if Reyes is the jump they're going to do for him. I think more likely they'll give him Corey Anderson or Anthony Smith. They're the two I think are most likely for him next. Isn't Smith fighting soon? Am I wrong?
He's fighting Rakic soon, so maybe
the winner
after that one would be interesting. But it all depends on if John Jones is continuing to fight. So if John Jones relinquishes title, you've got Reyes against Blachowicz for the title. If not, if he stays, one of them guys is going to be free. So one of them isn't going to get the title shot, and one of them's going to want to fight soon. So either of them guys, in my opinion, is the best next step for him. It does hinge on John Jones and what he wants to do and when he wants to do it.
Yeah, so this, while he did look fantastic, and he did show some flaws because, well, not really flaws, his hands are always down. He's always can be hit, But he got hit in this one. He didn't go down, so his chin might be fantastic. I still think he doesn't match up very well against someone like a Jones, and I'm not sold on him matching up well against someone like a Reyes. Yeah, I think he needs another jump.
Yeah, I think to take shots from Volkan, that's pretty much proven. You've got your chin's fine. Like there's nothing wrong with his chin. His chin's perfect. He probably does. I wouldn't put him straight in with someone like Jones, but the top contenders. I couldn't believe people speaking about Johnny Walker. Like so many people. Like it wasn't just one idiot on his about 50 idiots on the internet. There was so many of them speaking about Johnny Walker. This will be a fun fight. No, it wouldn't. Johnny Walker would get done in 10 seconds because he got done by Corey Anderson in a minute, who's a wrestler, so it doesn't make sense. So that's a little rant out the way. But yeah, he should be aiming as high as possible. And if they want to match him with Corey Anderson, I think it'll be a bad night for Corey Anderson. But I think that as high as they can give him now, I'm fully on the train. And I feel like one more fight and he should be in for the title shot.
Yeah, so I'll leave it to you. Any other fights on here that you want to touch on before we wrap it up?
What one? What one was where the referee was deducted 2 points? What was that?
Well, that was Santos versus Leonardo Santos versus Roman Bogatov.
I just want to speak about that just because I want to get your opinion as just about Mark Goddard. What do you make of Mark Goddard? Because I know a lot of people a very mixed opinion, especially Americans don't see. I just want to get your opinion on him as a referee.
Him as a referee, I don't think he's a bad referee. I think Colby Covington would seem to disagree. But, he's fine. And deducting 2 points made sense there. He kneed the dude in the head, why else would you deduct 2 points, They could have DQ'd him there. I would have been happy if they DQ'd him. That was a blatant illegal knee. He'd already, I think he, hit him in the nuts twice or something before that. There was a couple of stoppages. This was probably the longest fight on the card that wasn't the main event fights, It probably went for 25 minutes. no problem with deducting 2 points. Deduct 2 points for that. Yeah, and
Yeah,
Marco's fine.
A lot of people are saying that's an unorthodox thing to do, but I'm pretty sure they did it to John Jones when he fouled Anthony Smith. So it's to me it weren't that weird, and I think he could have took a point and then another point, but it was just. I think a lot of people, he gets quite a lot of stick, Mark Goddard, and obviously I'm a Brit, so anything I say might sound a bit biased, but it's just. I think it's the way he speaks to fighters. He's like, do this. He's like telling them off, isn't he, all the time? Yeah, but that was the only interesting thing I wanted to pick up from that. And then obviously we had Amir Khani, who put on a brilliant submission against Danny Hendry with that anaconda choke, put him to sleep, and then he's helping him with his legs. So he's always in for fun fights. What did you make of that one?
Yeah, very entertaining. I didn't know who to take in that one because I'm not really familiar with either guy. But I had seen Makwan fight before, but I think he fought Burgos when I saw him and he lost, I think, if that's right. But yeah, perfect submission. Like, did nothing wrong. Went out there, went for that arm in guillotine when he couldn't get it, modified it to anaconda and put him to sleep.
Yeah, he always seems to be one of them guys. He's like kill or be killed type thing, and he's always in the mix. But then he'll jump up eventually and he'll get a big win and he'll be in the mix. Prior to that, though, I don't think this card, like, obviously overall, as excited as we was about it, I don't think it was the best card ever. I think a lot of it was really, it didn't live up to the hype. Basically, overall, the card. One person I want to shout out is Davy Grant, who beat Martin Day in the first fight. Like, that was brilliant. He broke his jaw in the first round, and then he comes out and he just, obviously technically he was far Martin Day was far superior. He obviously had the striking ability, but just the heart and the willingness to throw punches and get in the mix and take one to throw one and things like that just got him win. And it was as clean a knockout as you can get. And I'm delighted for him because he's from my neck of the woods and he's been about and he struggled with injuries and things like that. So glad to see him get that win.
For sure, and I thought he was losing every round of that fight up until that point. So for him to come back right at the end of the fight and put him to sleep like that, like, perfect ending for him, Obviously, he didn't want to lose all those rounds and take that damage, but he didn't let the fact he was losing stop him from coming out there and putting on a show. And props to him.
Yeah, and that's one where you're losing on the cards, but you're winning on the fight, and it's a similar to Max thing where he was always in that fight and he always looked like he could land something big, and he was always putting pressure on, and it is a thing about how you score fights, and should it be about points or is a fight a fight? Should it be split into rounds? And it's a complex situation, but he just took it out the judge's hands, and that's probably what Holloway needed to do. He needs to, land something big and wipe someone out. And Davy Grant, shout out to him. Hopefully he's more active now, because I think he's fought about 4 times since he's been in the UFC, and he's been in the UFC since about 2015, 16. So hopefully more active, and we get to see him fight as much as possible.
For sure. So we'll wrap up the UFC 251 recap there. And we'll jump over to the Wednesday or Thursday card because obviously we've got 2 cards this week, so we might as well just tag on a preview for that at the end of this. And so that's the Calvin Kattar versus Dan Ige card. Interesting main event. Very good fight. I like this fight a lot. If I was going to break it down, I'd probably say that it's a quick turnaround for both of them, so I don't know what condition they're both going to be in. Especially Ige. He took a lot of damage against Barboza. So I think Kattar's probably the better boxer, and I can see him landing something big. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I'm a bit worried for Ige in this one. I think it is. Obviously, it's a quick turnaround. He took a lot of damage. He probably didn't win that fight, as a lot of people have said, and he's jumping up another level, which is Calvin Kattar, who I think's on the precipice of big things in the division. He hits so clean and so hard. So I'm actually envisioning quite a vicious knockout, and quite early as well. So. Ige, his last 2 fights have been steps up, and they've both been split decision wins, and he is struggling, with the step up to the level. He's not clearly taking people out. He's not going through the levels impressively. He's, getting his way through, and he's there, and now he's in this fight with Kattar, which maybe has come a little bit too soon after his last fight and things like that. I expect Kattar to win. I expect him to be in the mix with the likes of Volkanovski and Holloway as soon in the next year.
So the biggest question mark for me in this is the fact that I've never seen Kattar grapple in any fight. I've never seen him taken down. I've never seen him on his back. I've never seen him wrestle someone. So if this goes into the later rounds, because it is 5 rounds, and they're both tired, and Ige's losing on the feet, and he tries to take him down and wrestle. And Ige's got good submissions. Ige's like a well-rounded fighter. Does he take Kattar down and submit him? Is that the way to win? I don't know, because obviously, like I said, I haven't seen Kattar's grappling. He might be fantastic. I wouldn't know. So that's the big question for me going into this one.
Yeah, I just I don't even see it getting into the later round. I honestly think this is, without being disrespectful, it is a bit of a mismatch. I think Kattar is a couple of levels above Ige. I expect him to prove that. I don't, for him to make it this far and go 3 rounds with the beats and people like that. I don't think there's much of an issue with his wrestling. I guess we'll find out down the line, but I don't think it's going to be this fight.
For sure. Well, we'll jump to the co-main event of that card, which is Tim Elliott versus Ryan Benoit. I don't know why this is a co-main event. Like, Tim Elliott's an exciting flyweight, I guess, but they're not. Neither of them are like near title contention, and neither of them are a big name. So I don't understand why this fight is above the Jimmie Rivera Cody Stamen fight, which should probably be the co-main event on this fight card. But as far as they go stylistically, I think Tim Elliott really needs a win here because he's lost quite a few in his last couple of fights, so I think he really needs this win. And he's got some unique striking. He's very interesting on the feet. He's a great grappler, lots of cool scrambles and whatnot. But Benoit could probably land something big here. I don't know enough about either fighter because I'm not familiar with either too much to make a solid prediction. But I'm going to predict it. I'll probably say, let's go Benoit by knockout just because he's got power in his hands. I
think Tim Elliott is desperate for the win. I think this is why it's another quick turnaround because, like, to lose to Brandon Royval in his first fight in UFC obviously isn't great. And Tim Elliott, he's the guy who give Demetrius one of his better fights in the UFC. So it's tough to see him in this position because he has lost to people like Davison Figueiredo and then Ashkarov, who I rate both of them fighters really highly. But then that Royval one, how good is Royval and how good will he be? He might be the next big thing. We don't know yet. So Ryan Benoit, is it Benoit? Anyway, and he's dropped. This is a drop of a couple of levels. I think this is a very winnable fight for Tim Elliott. I think he'll win it because he knows his career is probably on the line. His UFC career anyway is probably on the line right now, and he wants to win, and I think he'll get it. Yeah, well, I mean, you're probably more familiar with these guys than me, so take your pick over mine. But the next fight on that card, well, the one before it, between Jimmie Rivera and Cody Stamen, if I'm right. Yep, that's the one. I like this fight a lot. This is a good fight. I think it should be the co-main event. Stamen looked incredible in his last fight. He went out there and fought Kelleher, and he looked fantastic, especially after all the personal stuff going on with his father passing away and whatnot. To come out there and look as good as he did was just remarkable. Mm-hmm. I think Rivera probably wins this one just because he's super well-rounded. He's only lost to the top guys. Like, he's lost to Jan, Moraes, and Aljo. Before that, he was 21-1 or something. So he's a good fighter. He's a high-level fighter. Stamen is too. I think just because of how well-rounded he is, I'm going to take Rivera in this one. Yeah, I think I was edging Rivera, but then I heard that. I heard him when he spoke to James Lynch for us. Rivera was saying that he can make 135. He's happy to do 135, and Stammen's is the one pushing for 145. So I kind of think that gives Stamen a bit of an edge if he thinks he's going to be the bigger guy and things like that. So, and it's very last minute, this fight. So you just assume, have they been in camp? Has Stamen been training since his last fight? Has Rivera been? It's a really good fight. I think it's definitely the people's co-main event. I don't know what the UFC have been thinking, but it's a really good fight. I think it's a 50-50, and I'm backing Stamen. I think he looked great in his last fight. I was picking Kelleher for the upset, but he surprised me. He had great head movement. He was standing right in the pocket, but Kelleher couldn't hit him with that power that he's got. And then he's also got a couple of good wins, Brian Caraway and Alejandro Perez, and then Kelleher and a draw against Song Yadong. So I think Jimmie Rivera will be desperate for the win because I think he's on a losing streak as well. But it's a 50-50. I'm just going to edge Stamen, but it is a toss of the coin, really. For sure. Is there anyone else on that card you want to touch on? Otherwise, I've got UFC 252 here. We'll just skim down that quick if you want. Well, I just want to.
All right, there's a couple of guys from there's a couple of British guys.
There's a good fight. Modestas Bukauskas. He was a Cage Warriors champion. I spoke to him not long ago, but he's definitely one to watch out for. He's a ruthless guy, light heavyweight, and he's got great striking. And it's actually a better fight now that he's got a replacement opponent. Apparently, oh, I'm not even gonna try this guy's name, but Andreas. Apparently, he is one of the top prospects from Greece, and it's actually a better fight now on paper than the last guy he was meant to fight was on a 3-fight losing streak. So I expected him to wipe him out. Whereas this is it's a tougher test now for Modestas, and I think Andreas is a middleweight, so he will go down after this fight. He's just took the fight to get into the UFC. But that's what I'm excited about, and then. Also, Chris Fishgold against Jared Gordon is an exciting fight because it's a good level of matchup, and Chris he hasn't quite had it in the UFC yet. He hasn't quite proved his talents, and taking out someone like Jared Gordon will be a big thing for him. But when I spoke to Jared Gordon not long ago, he was just saying he's a bigger, better version, and he expects to dominate the fights. So that's an interesting fight on the undercard.
For sure, and I think that last name is pronounced Michailidis, if he's Greek.
Andre Michailidis, yeah.
That makes
apparently,
sense.
I'm not up to speed on Greek MMA, but a lot of people around Europe are saying he is a young prospect, a top young prospect, and it's a great clash, and it's like one you probably wouldn't want to make right now because they are both so young and so new to the UFC. But it is actually on paper, it's meant to be a great fight. So tough test for Modestas, but he's one to watch out for, for any, American fans or just the people around the world who haven't seen him fighting Cage Warriors. He's really vicious on the feet. So, look out for that.
Absolutely. Just quickly before we wrap it up, I do want to go through, not breaking down the fights, but just get your thoughts on the card as a whole for UFC 252. Obviously headlined by Stipe Miocic versus Daniel Cormier, the trilogy, the finale of this. After this, hopefully we don't have to see it again. Hopefully one of them will stay with the title and the other one will retire. And well, even if DC wins, hopefully he retires because he's getting a bit up there in age. Not that he doesn't look good. Anyway, co-main event is Junior Dos Santos versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Pretty good fight. I like this one for Rozenstruik because it'll tell us where he belongs in the division. Does he belong at the top, or is he another one like a Johnny Walker that worked their way too fast and really should be working from the bottom, So I do like that one. Aside from that, we've got the rematch between Magomed Ankalaev and Ion Cutelaba. Can't read. But that's another good fight. Obviously, the first time that happened, there was that controversial stoppage because of the playing possum. And to wrap out the card, we got Edgar versus Munoz and then Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Vera, which is probably one of my favorite fights that could have been made this year. What do you think of those?
Yeah, it's a really good card. Obviously, it's topped by one of the biggest fights you can make, really. I think them two, they're always going to be on full fights. I think Stipe and Cormier, as much as Cormier thinks he's going to wrestle him this time, I don't think it's going to be that easy, and he's going to have a bit of a tough time getting that to the floor. And then, as you said, I think Junior Dos Santos, he was a great champion, but now he is something of a measuring stick, and he is one of them guys. If you want to be the best in heavyweight and you want to be in the mix and fighting Francis and Stipe and Daniel, you've got to beat Junior Dos Santos, and you've probably got to knock him out. And then besides that, we've got that fun light heavyweight fight, which has just become bigger just because of what happened last time. It's just such a bigger fight now, and everyone will be watching out for that because before the stoppage came, they were both throwing big hands, and then elsewhere we're lucky because I think Munoz Edgar's were meant to be on this card, weren't it? Yeah. On Wednesday, or so. It's taken away from that, but it's adding to this. That's a good fight, and obviously, lastly, Sean O'Malley, Marlon Vera. That's a good fight, and it's 100% the biggest test of his career by a million miles, O'Malley. So it'll be interesting to see how he comes out looking from that, because a lot of people thought Vera beat Sang Yadong, who's ranked, I think he's ranked 14th or 15th. So it's not easy. It's a really, really big step up. So O'Malley, it's time to prove yourself. And once he beats someone like Vera, he's onto it. Then he's going for top 10 guys, I think.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. And that about wraps us up there. I'll speak to you guys after this Wednesday card, or Thursday card, wherever you are in the world. Probably on Friday to recap that and preview this weekend's card, which is the flyweight title fight, supposedly still against Benavidez.
I think it's definitely on it. I think it's on him. I think it was a false positive, and he's already on his way to Abu Dhabi now. So it just depends if he's getting more false positives and what type of thing that will pop up, because apparently I did it in March or May or sometime like that. So hopefully we get that fight, because it would be a shame, for Figueiredo, especially after he won last one. I know he missed weight, but he should get another chance, and hopefully he makes the weight, passes all his tests, and we get that fight.
So that's the fight, and we'll speak to you later in the week to preview that one. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys.